Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Jennifer. We are a middle aged couple with a Regal Unlimited subscription and a deep, deep desire for movie popcorn.
We are unassociated with the Real Corporation in any way. They do not sponsor these videos. We just happen to live near a Regal theater, so we got the Regal Unlimited membership.
Mm-hmm.
And it means see a lot of weird movies.
Yep,
We see a lot of movies we probably wouldn't otherwise see.
that's true.
And in fact, this is a movie that we almost missed because it came and it went.
It came and it went at a time when we saw other stuff and we were busy doing other stuff too.
Yes.
Yeah, because there were some weeks where we didn't go to the movies, like scandalously.
All right, let's cut the suspense. We went and saw
Death of a Unicorn.
Death of a Unicorn with Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega
Mm-hmm.
and Will Powder and Tia Leone and
Richard E. Grant. And Anthony Kerrigan.
Anthony Kerrigan. Is that NoHo Hank?
That is NoHo Hank.
That's NoHo Hank.
Mhm.
Okay. And the woman, the one with the gun.
I have no idea who that is. I've never seen
Okay.
that person
I've
before.
seen her in a million things. Damn, I wish I knew her name. Anyway, they were all great. The movie is great.
Great is overstating
Great is
it,
overstating
but
it.
it's
Okay.
entertaining. It's bonkersly entertaining.
It was propulsive and
Mhm.
fun and full of ridiculous over-the-top gore, which
Really
maybe
gory.
that was your problem.
Yeah, that was my problem
That
with
was
it.
one
I
of her
thought it
problems,
was going to be more of a not very good comedy,
Mm-hmm.
and instead it was a little bit of comedy and a lot of
Horror movie.
basically horror, like a monster
Yes.
movie.
It is absolutely a monster
And
movie.
like kind of a gory monster movie, and that was that was a little much, but I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
actually funnier than we expected it to be. It actually kind of worked on that level.
Yeah.
It's a great satire
Mm-hmm.
about the pharmaceutical company,
Pharmaceutical
industry, among
industry,
other
yeah.
things. But it just, yeah, we don't do spoilers for this, do we?
I think it's perfectly fine to do spoilers, because,
spoilers
to
for
be
this.
honest, of anybody who's potentially watching this, none of them will see this movie.
We are
Like this
getting to
movie
it very
is
late.
well, but just even like on streaming, I feel like this is not a movie that even a lot of people know exists. I don't know. I mean, I saw a couple of ads for it in the movies because we go to the movies so often, but only a couple. Like, it wasn't an ad that I saw over and over again, like the ad for Drop that
Yeah.
they're still showing. Drop is out in the movie theaters, and we saw an ad for Drop
Saw a
tonight.
trailer for it, yeah.
So yeah, I think I saw ads for this movie maybe twice, but it seems so ridiculously insane, and people that I like in it, that I'm like, okay, like I'll go see it, because I just assumed it would be a mystery movie, and there were no mystery movies before it came out. So
No.
it's like, okay, well,
Okay, spoilers.
yeah,
We're just going to do spoilers.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
maybe not for the ending. The ending's pretty crazy.
The ending's pretty crazy, and the ending is the part of it that stands up to least.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
Yeah, it kind of falls apart. But
Yeah.
up until the very end of the movie, it's pretty good.
Yeah, like the last 3 minutes.
All right,
Yeah.
so the premise is Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega are driving through wild parts of Canada and heading towards the mountain lodge of this billionaire couple and their demented son. And
Who he works for.
he works for them, and he's trying to set up some kind of proxy thing for their board, and he's going to be rich, rich, rich. And Jenna Ortega is an art student who just doesn't care. She acts more like a teenager in this than a college student.
I
but
think
that's
you're
fine.
supposed to get that she's like 19 or 20.
Right.
Like they make a point of saying she's not even 21, that she's, yeah, I mean, she's not a minor, not a legal minor, but she's very much still like the spoiled kid.
Yeah, she acts like a spoiled teenager of a rich
Of a rich,
father.
yeah.
And she has very bad acne, which is a plot point.
Yep.
So they're driving through Canada and they hit a unicorn. Straight up just hit a baby unicorn in the road. And they don't really know what to do with it. So they try to put it out of its misery. That doesn't work. So they put it in the back of the car.
Well, they don't know that.
They don't know
They
at the
think
time
they've killed
didn't
it.
work. They think
They
killed
put it in the back of the car.
And they take it to the mountain lodge where it is quickly discovered But in that time, Jenna Ortega touched the unicorn's horn and had a vision of space and time. And Paul
And
Rudd,
when he tried to put
when
it
he
out,
tried to put out his misery with the tire iron, he got some of its blood in his eyes.
and she got it on her face.
Yeah, and so he wears very thick glasses at the beginning of the movie, and suddenly they don't work anymore. She finds that her acne goes away when she wipes the blood off her face, and her skin is great. And so it turns out that the unicorn can heal all wounds. And so the next thing is we see that Richard Grant, who is the billionaire father, is dying of cancer. And he gets a transfusion of unicorn horn and recovers completely. So they're going to monetize this by turning the unicorn horn into a cure-all for cancer and anything else that ails you.
Unicorn horn and unicorn blood, and
Yes.
they have this body of this baby who they've now shot, like once it
Yes.
seems like it comes
Oh,
back.
best
right?
scene in the movie. They're in the house and the baby unicorn body is in the car, and the car has tinted windows for some reason, and the car starts like bouncing up and down, and they're like, "What's going on with your car?" At which point the window explodes and the unicorn's head pops out with its tongue flying. It goes, "Ah!"
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are monster, crazy beasts.
It's interesting how different the unicorns looked throughout the movie.
Well-
You notice I said unicorns.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
mean-
that's the next plot element.
Yeah.
So,
Baby unicorn, once it like gets too restless, they shoot it again. They think they've killed it. They're starting to harvest from it, right? So they scrape off some of the horn. They like drain some of the blood. Figure out that they can use it. They figure out, oh, okay, well, we can't replicate it, but we can at least. So we can't like sell it as a cure to cancer to everybody. And since we can't replicate it, then we can sell it as a cure for cancer to our friends.
the billionaires.
And they start calling around to people to like rake in a whole bunch of money.
Yep.
Jenna Ortega is like, we can't do this because she is not an art student. She is an art history student
Okay.
who has studied the unicorn tapestries at the cloisters.
Yes.
And uses that as an in to think about, well, if unicorns are mythological, but they're actually not mythological, then maybe the old stories about unicorns might actually be true, because maybe the people in olden times knew that there were unicorns, and now we're the ones that are wrong.
And
So we use these tapestries and the story that we believe that they tell as something that we should be learning about unicorns.
but the best joke in the entire movie is that the unicorn tapestries that we all know and love are incomplete.
Which there is one of them that is in two pieces and is demonstrably incomplete.
Yes.
But
In the movie, they have extrapolated that tapestry out to show what happens at what is the ending of the story of the unicorn, and the ending is that the unicorns get their bloody revenge.
yep,
And this is where it turns into a straight up monster movie, and will
Yep.
remain so for the rest of the film.
yep,
The bulk of the film is the daddy unicorn and then the mommy unicorn come to get revenge for their dead baby, and proceed to just kill the
the
stuffing
shit
out of
everybody.
in the house.
Yep,
One by one. And
Yep.
the movie is too long. We have to say
Yes.
that. There's a lot of these kills.
yes,
Jennifer liked the fact that the movie telegraphed the kills.
yes. So
To
then you can
me-
close your eyes.
To me, it was like the filmmakers were like, we have to make sure everybody's paying attention.
Yes,
Because this is where we're spending all the money.
yes.
Although, honestly, the CGI...
They spent $4
the
on these
CGI
unicorns.
did not look as good as it could have.
No.
Like I mentioned, the unicorns their appearance varies throughout the film.
Their appearance varies,
Sometimes
although
they
part
look
of
like
it,
horses.
yeah, but then also part of it is realizing that you're seeing two different unicorns when
Yeah.
you thought you were seeing just the one. But it's not just that. They don't look consistent throughout the movie.
At one point, one of
They're
them is
literally
black,
different colors. Yeah,
and then they turn white.
yeah.
There were a couple of moments like that in this film. There's a moment where the action is taking place in the middle of the night, and then two characters run out of the house, and
And
it is
it's-
broad daylight.
It's like 2 p.m.
It's not
Yep.
not even dawn.
Yeah.
It would have made sense if it was just dawn, but no, it is 2 o'clock in the afternoon, full daylight, with no explanation.
Yeah.
And so, there are plot holes. There are things that don't quite make sense. On the whole, though, this is a very well crafted movie. I felt like there was never any point where I didn't understand what was going on. There was never any point where the characters' performances didn't make sense. All of these actors are great, and they did a wonderful job of embodying a variety of characters that you dislike enough that you're okay when they get impaled
That's
by unicorn
pretty much
horns.
what it is, right?
Yes.
So, like Richard E. Grant, for the 75 people out there that saw the TV show The Franchise,
Right.
which we saw, basically was that character. Like,
Yes.
it was astounding. And so, is this like officious billionaire guy who has a gigantic vocabulary for literally no reason.
And a Shakespearean presence.
Yeah, just like
Yes.
just the diction and the whatever, but all for every line he's speaking is just "I am a giant asshole" line, and so just perfect. And then Téa Leoni is perfectly cast as like the younger
waspy,
wife of like,
yeah.
just
Not even
passive.
waspy.
That is literally the definition
Okay.
of like oh, what were the Youngs calling that at some point? Oh, I forget.
Karens?
But no. There, we won't come up
Okay.
with it because I doubt you've heard this term and I don't remember it. Forget I ever said it.
Basically,
Anywho, the
Téa
point
Leoni,
is,
if she played a character in any other movie, her last name would be Wellington.
well, like
Mhm.
that, just very like, wears white palazzo pants, like, and a silk top all the time, right? And pearls, and talks in the most passive aggressive form you could possibly discuss. Like,
Yes.
that's
And weaponizes her femininity
yes,
in a really interesting way.
yeah,
Is not just sexualized. Like she becomes like this maternal figure to Jenna Ortega, but this sort of like twisted, evil maternal figure
yeah,
that Jenna Ortega sees right through but can't
Yeah.
do anything about.
exactly.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
And then she
Will
gets
Poulter is the coked out, son who's
Fail son,
like,
yeah.
just an idiot, and whatever, like
who invested in NFTs.
who is invested in everything,
Yes.
and has like done a little bit of this and done a little bit of that, which means he had an idea for 5 minutes that the family funded and then he forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, you have no
Wears
compunction
shorts throughout the
throughout
film.
the entire film.
Even when it's cold outside and he has to wear a coat,
Yeah.
he's still wearing shorts.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
That was a great choice.
Yeah.
Uh,
Always wearing shorts.
So-
half the time they're swim trunks. Like, yeah.
what was great about this film was like Téa Leoni is such a good actress that she actually gets a moment of almost redemption,
Mm-hmm.
totally undeserved, but for a second you're like, oh my god, she's actually going to get this redemption
Mm-hmm.
for her, this character, this venal character, and then Will Poulter's like, nah,
Yeah,
and
forgive
just sort
me,
of walks
Mom.
away.
Yeah, and just lets it go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a
So,
really funny movie, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anthony Carrigan, who I want to have like a career in all sorts of
Sure.
things because I like him and I think he's very funny.
Very strange. I don't know what accent he was trying to do in this.
I don't know. Just, yeah. I don't know. This whole thing was apparently shot in like Slovenia and Budapest. So, he might have been listening to all the Hungarians around and
But he
trying.
wasn't doing
vague-
Yo Ho Hey.
No, he wasn't. But I mean, that's a whole different kind of thing. But it's this vaguely non-Americanish accent, but undefinably Europeanish, sort of vaguely. But he also doesn't have a huge amount of lines. But his facial expressions, even when he's not speaking, are an important part of his lines.
Yes.
So. Yeah, no, I was surprised how much I didn't hate this movie.
No,
and
it was fun.
It's got a the score written for the movie is surprisingly good, and then it ends.
Songs.
Well, the song that we really, really liked is a song by St. Vincent,
Yeah.
which is why it was really good, because it was a really good St.
But there
Vincent
was
song.
another good one. Are you thinking of the one at the beginning or the one at the end?
The one at the end is St. Vincent,
Right.
and then
I
I
really
think the
liked
one
song
at,
at the beginning as well.
I think that's a Cocteau Twins song.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. And so, and then like the score actually written for the movie is surprisingly not awful as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I can see from like the commercial why people would say, yeah, this is not a movie I particularly want to see, because in the commercial it looked like really like a bad comedy
Mm-hmm.
of like what happens after you hit a unicorn with your car and then something crazy happens. But it's a monster movie where the monsters are unicorns, and I can also see why people wouldn't want to see that movie either. But it was, yeah, it was not terrible. It wasn't amazing, but you could have done this movie better. It could have been 15 minutes shorter and not have really lost anything.
Yeah, it could be tightened up, but all the same,
yeah.
I think it really does hit when it hits. The humor is well done without hitting you over the head with it too much. Yeah, we compared this to Drop, which is the last movie we talked about on this channel. And yeah, both of them have this sort of energy that I really enjoyed. It was this propulsive thing where it's just like, we're not going to focus on the plot hole right now because there is more plot to come and there is more stuff to do. And we're just going to keep things moving. And they both have a sense of fun.
Yeah.
Like the filmmakers were like, we have to give people an entertaining movie.
Yeah.
We have this ridiculous premise.
And we're going to take it somewhere. We're going to do something with
fun.
it.
But like, yeah, just make it an enjoyable experience to watch this movie. I absolutely think it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't overstay the parts of the billionaires started to overstay their welcome a bit, but then they all started getting killed.
Yeah. So problem solved.
Yeah, problem solved. And the unicorn attacks at the end overstay their welcome a bit, and then suddenly we're down to 2, and then there's the ending.
And then there's the ending.
Which
they
completely falls apart.
They couldn't figure out how to end the movie, and didn't quite have the courage of their own convictions to end the movie in a dark way.
Did we totally spoil the ending?
I don't think anybody's going to have a problem with this, because again, I really don't think people are going to see this.
So the unicorns have killed everybody except Will Poulter, Paul Rudd, and Jenna Ortega.
Mm-hmm. And Anthony Carrigan has run away.
Off, yes. And so Jenna Ortega, who is, in the words of the movie, a pure-hearted maiden.
Yes.
Because for some reason this movie is afraid to use the word virgin.
Yes. Well, it's also, you would like to think that a 20-year-old college student would not be a virgin, but that's maybe not a given anymore. But, the youngs,
who knows?
Not so much fuckins.
Okay, don't get us demonetized. Not that
we're monetized. Please. We're monetizing our own imaginations.
Okay, I'm trying to keep the channel family friendly.
Okay.
That ship sailed a long time ago.
Then one bad word per video.
Okay. So
I said it already.
Anyway, so Paul Rudd and Will Poulter face off. Paul Rudd is holding a severed unicorn horn in his hand, and for some reason he just stabs Will Poulter with it. Why? Who knows? Will Poulter had been carrying around a bow and arrow for the entire film, or the last act of the film, and just takes the arrow and stabs Paul Rudd. And so they're both bleeding to death. At which point one of the unicorns just kicks Will Poulter and kills him.
Well, because Will Poulter had basically forced Jenna Ortega into sitting there and basically calling the unicorns to her,
yes.
Right? So that when the unicorns come to her, they won't attack her. And in fact, the big, mean mommy and daddy unicorn basically lay on her lap, right?
So buckle up, folks.
Like in the tapestry, right? So she has tamed these unicorns, and he wanted to get her to capture the unicorns so that, like in the tapestry, the unicorn then ends up in captivity. So he
Right.
wants to capture these two unicorns so that you can like mate them and then like shave their horns
more
and like
horns.
have blood and make all the money. And
Yes.
he's been snorting the horn, so
It's-
he wants to just
yeah.
get high for eternity, right?
Like I said, buckle up.
It
This is
gets
gonna
bonkers, right?
It continues to get more and more bonkers.
So both of the unicorns are basically like tied up and sitting on her lap, and then these two dudes just like stab each other in
for
the
no
gut.
reason.
And then the two unicorns have gotten themselves free because he just tied them up with this little itty bitty rope, like that was going to do anything to them when they wanted to get up. So they had gotten up, and then they're like, oh, okay. And so then like one of them like kicks him in the head, right? Like whatever, he shatters into 1,000 pieces and he's dead, right?
So
And then Paul
Paul Rudd
Rudd
dies.
collapses and like bleeds to death
Yes.
after this very touching speech from Jenna Ortega.
leaving Jenna Ortega the only person alive.
Yes.
With the two unicorns and the dead baby unicorn.
Dead baby unicorn whose horn has been severed.
At which point she has a really touching moment with Paul Rudd.
He dies.
It actually was kind of touching.
Mhm.
They talk about what death is like because she'd had this vision of the universe.
When she touched the unicorn.
When she touched the
horn
unicorn,
at the very beginning
and
of
she
the movie.
felt that, her mom was out there somewhere, her dead mom was out there somewhere, and they would be with her soon. And so Paul Rudd says, I hope that's true, and then he dies. The end, right? No, that can't possibly be the end of the movie. The two adult unicorns touched their horns together. This opens a rift to the center of the universe. I am not kidding.
And so then the baby unicorn gets the
horn
horn
goes back
onto
onto
the
its
baby
stump.
unicorn, and all of a sudden the baby unicorn is
Comes
resurrected.
back to life, and Paul Rudd
And
comes
Paul
back
Rudd
to
is
life.
resurrected.
The unicorns run off into the woods. The end, right? No. Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega have a big hug, and then they look up, and there is NoHo Hank,
Along with the police.
cops, and they go, oh, crud.
Yeah, because of course they're the only people left alive.
Yes.
Obviously, they must have killed everybody in this fucking house.
So they get arrested, they get put in a cop car, and the cops are talking on the radio, and they're like, well, looks like we have some suspects, and the cop car pulls away, and Paul Rudd and Jenna are taken in the back, and Paul Rudd says, I saw your mom there in the universe when I died, and they have a nice little moment in the back of the cop car, even though they're going to jail, and they smile and they hug, and then that's the end of the movie, right? No, it is not. So then the unicorns come running out of the woods, and Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega pull on their seatbelts, which I don't know why they weren't wearing seatbelts before, except to make a point now, and brace themselves as the unicorns charge the police car. Cut to black.
Fade to black. So you are
Okay.
either meant to think that these unicorns knocked this car into a river because the road is going by a river,
It absolutely
which
is.
means everyone in the car drowned,
Yeah.
or that they knocked the car off course enough for them to escape in the woods and live with the unicorns because they can't go back to civilization because they're going to go to jail for having killed all these people. Neither one of these makes sense as an ending to this movie.
No, it really didn't.
So, yeah, it might have been
It
more
just kept
satisfying, at least in the sense of scandal, because people in the audience were like, oh my God, no, Paul Rudd did not actually just fucking die. Like you could hear people gasping. And you know what? This movie might have been talked about if they'd had the courage of their convictions to let him just die at the end and have a very sad ending.
Who knows? Yeah, that's spoilers for the entirety of Death of a Unicorn.
For a movie I know
hope
you're
you're
not going to
okay
go
with
see.
that. I honestly think you should still see it.
I
think it's still fun. I think even knowing everything we just said, because it's a relatively straightforward movie, it is literally people try to take advantage of a unicorn, unicorns fight back.
yeah,
That's it.
fuck them up,
Yep. And
Mess 'em
unicorns
up.
kill a bunch of people.
mess them up.
It's, and it was just fun. It really was. I have to give it that. Even the stupid ending didn't take away from the fun.
Yeah, wasn't too bad.
All right,
Wasn't too
this
bad.
is threatening to become our longest video ever.
No, but
It's up there.
we could stop.
Okay. All right. Well, that's Death of a Unicorn. Thanks, folks. We will see you next time.
Till next time. Bye.